Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Let's Go Racing. Tyler Jones here with you. So glad to have you with us as we are getting you all set for the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, which begin this weekend at Darlington. But before we do that, we have plenty to talk about with the field being set after Ryan Blaney got things done at Daytona. We'll break that down and preview the playoff and give out our championship picks. And then we'll have our news and notes, the latest headlines that's going on with 2311 Front Row Motorsports. Look at it this weekend's race at Darlington and answer some mailbag questions as well coming up in just a bit. But for the playoffs, folks, we're excited. Dominic out this week, but please do have along for the ride for the next several weeks. Matt Kemp, you know him, you love him from the ARCA Menards series, and he's a rising star in this sport. We're pleased to have him on board with us here for the next several weeks here on Let's Go Racing, and he joins us right now. Matt, before we get into the business of the day, my friend, welcome in. Glad to have you along with us here, and thanks for joining us here on Let's Go Racing. Should be a fun next few weeks ahead.
Yeah, yes, sir. I appreciate you guys inviting me on. It should be a fun little stretch here.
Yeah, Matt, for folks that may not know you, tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah, a little bit about me. I've been fortunate to have some pretty cool opportunities to be a part of some races in the ARCA Menard series over the last couple of years. Fortunately, had a pretty awesome run this year at Flat Rock where we qualified on the front row and ended up getting our first E-Series top five and then got our first National Series top 10 earlier this year. So on the racing side, that's what I do. But other than that, just a regular fellow. I just mowed my lawn before I came in here.
I love that. Matt, tell me about more of your background. Where's home for you, and how'd you get involved in racing and everything?
Yeah, so my hometown Sawyer, Michigan. I actually got involved in racing. I think we touched base on it a little bit when I was on here as a guest with you guys a while back, but I got into racing just because my parents brought me home a SpongeBob Jimmy Johnson diecast way back in the day. So that kind of spiraled everything into somehow getting into to where I'm at now. And I don't come from a racing background, so it's all just kind of just happened.
I love that. Well, we're glad to have you on board and with us here for the next several weeks here on Let's Go Racing. Matt, let's kind of get things started with looking back at Ryan Blaney's win. What an exciting race at Daytona that came down to the very end. And Ryan Blaney is showing why he's one of the best. This guy's capable of winning anywhere, whether it's on the drafting tracks, the mile and a half, the short tracks. This guy's a threat any given week. And the way that he moved up front as quickly as he did there towards the end of the race. I mean, what a strong showing he did there in those final laps, Matt.
No, no doubt. Especially in the next gen era, coming from 13th all the way to the win is pretty incredible. Much less doing it like he always seems to do it at the super speedway or uh, drafting style racetracks, as we call them nowadays. Getting it in a photo finish, in a four wide photo finish, much less. So pretty incredible run by him, and just continues to prove that he's one of the best plate racers that's ever been.
Yeah, and I look at Ryan Blaney, Matt. We'll talk about the playoff picture and break that down here in just a moment. But I know that he's never had a season where he's won just a boatload of races by any stretch. But he runs consistently up front. I know he got off to a rough start to 2025 there and just had some terrible luck. But the fact that he can win any given week, that he's won in this format before, I mean, it's kind of like a sneaky threat of some sorts where you always have to take him into account, into the equation.
No, no, no question. He's fast pretty much everywhere you go, and there's a reason that Roger Penske hired him.
Yeah, yeah, I was very impressed, and that four wide finish to hold off all those guys that he did that were all outside the playoff. I mean, we're talking about if one guy makes one move different, maybe Daniel Suarez is in and Alex Bowman's out, or a number of other guys. I mean, it was quite the fight for these guys uh to come up just short in the way they did.
No, no question. And what was it? Four of the top five needed a win, and so we were that close. Alex Bowman had to have been sweating really bad those last few laps. I could only imagine how he was feeling just knowing that if the wrong person won, he's out. It makes his whole season. makes or breaks it.
Well, and totally out of his control when he wrecked out early there.
Right, right. And it's like, hindsight, what do you do? Do you run around out back and hang around? But I mean, I don't know. It's just crazy. Not great luck there to be right in the middle of it when it all started.
Yeah, and just a crazy finish that it worked out the way that it did. And let me ask you this, Matt. We've seen with this playoff format that they moved this race to Daytona to be the cutoff race. And last year you had the upset win from Harrison Burton. This year we get Ryan Blaney holding off all those guys. I know traditionally we've run this Daytona race 4th of July weekend. That's what a lot of people like and love, but I would say that this has been a major success to have this to end the regular season, to have one last shot for these guys here, whether it pays off like last year with Harrison Burton or it doesn't this year, and you have these guys running close here. To me, you can criticize NASCAR for a number of things. I think this has been brilliant to have Daytona here as this last race before the cutoff. What say you?
Oh yeah, I agree that they've created some excitement for sure. It's I don't want to call it artificial excitement because Daytona could be if even if it was on the 4th of July or whenever, as long as that race is in the regular season, it could be a wild card in the regular season and it affects everything just the same. So moving it to the cutoff, whether it's Daytona, Atlanta, Talladega, whatever they would put there, it definitely is probably the best choice for a cutoff race right before a playoffs of sorts starts, just to give everybody one last chance. And you just know everybody in the field's got a chance to get in one more time.
So let's talk about the playoff field and kind of go from there. First off, Matt, William Byron, he won the regular season title. He clinched that the prior race before even going into Daytona. William Byron with 2 wins on the season and runs away with this regular season title. Let's start there. Matt, I know the wins aren't necessarily there, but the fact that they've been consistently running up front and showing speed, it would not shock me if we're talking about William Byron winning this championship, getting a couple of wins or several wins for that matter, going off on a run here in this postseason, the way that they've performed at a high level. Even if they haven't necessarily punched in the victories, they've led a lot of laps and they've won several stages throughout the year.
Oh yeah, not only that. I mean, it just seems like the last couple of years they've gotten off to a really hot start in the start of the season, and then they just kind of fade away and come back a little bit towards the end of the playoffs, it seems. So we'll see if they can keep the momentum up. It seems like they've obviously done a good job of that this year with winning the regular season championship, but like you mentioned, their wins are not necessarily there compared to the top few guys, but he's still got a couple, which is still the top half. So I'd say he's got a great shot at making this one of his best years yet.
Meanwhile, Kyle Larson, he is going to be tied with William Byron for the points lead with the playoff points. They're both 26 above the cutoff as he's got 32 total playoff points. Kyle Larson, I feel like, Matt, I don't know what you think. Kyle Larson, we've seen speed from him all season long. We've seen him win, races and run up front. But I still personally think that Kyle Larson still hasn't necessarily run his best yet. We know that he can, on any given week, go out there and dominate, and that he can put on a show, that he can rattle off several races in a row. I think you could make a case that Kyle Larson, if they can, take that next step of sorts, you could say that his best racing for the season still might be ahead of him here in the postseason.
Well, I'd certainly hope so after his summer stretch. He's kind of struggled these last couple of months, to be honest with you, and it hasn't really been the same five team as we're used to seeing. But I mean, still, they're essentially tied for the lead in playoff points coming into the playoffs, and then he's got pretty much tied for the second most wins on the season so far. So I don't know, you can't be too picky, but I think he's off to a really great start and has a lot of potential here in these playoffs. I definitely agree that he could take off, and the best could be yet to come for him. One of the stats that I was really surprised by, to be honest with you, is that he's got the most top tens of anybody in the Cup Series, and
Yeah.
I don't know, it just doesn't feel like it's been that kind of a year for him, and it's really not typical Kyle Larson fashion to be just kind of a top 10 guy. So I don't know, I feel like that's going to bode well for him moving forward.
Yeah, but with that said, kind of adding on to that, Matt, if, with the 26 points he has to work with and being a top 10 guy, that can work to get through these rounds of with the cushion that he has. If he puts together those top tens just consistently, then he's going to be in a spot to have a chance, even if he's not winning. As long as he gets those top tens and stays out of trouble, he'll still stay in contention for throughout the thick of this.
For sure. And if you look at how the way they got these races structured in the playoffs this year, you're going to need a lot of those playoff points coming into the last couple of rounds with Talladega being basically in the round of 8.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Meanwhile, Denny Hamlin sitting in third, 23 points above, 29 total playoff points for him. Matt, Denny Hamlin's been a very good year for him. He's won a lot of races, and he's been so good at the short tracks. I feel like if you're the 11 team, you're thinking to yourself almost that when it comes to the short track program, you probably have an advantage on everybody else in this postseason with how much better they've been there compared to all these other teams.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like he's been good everywhere, just like the 5 team has been. But again, lately it just kind of feels like they've been in a little bit of a slump. So we'll see if they turn it on when the pressure turns on with the playoffs here.
We talked about Ryan Blaney a moment ago. Christopher Bell is 17 points above with 23 total playoff points. Matt, Christopher Bell, he had those 3 races that he won in a row there towards the start of the season, and we haven't really seen that team return to form since.
No, no doubt. And that's one of the guys who I feel like has been really, really strong, one of the strongest in the playoffs. When it comes time to win, it seems like he's been doing that these last couple of years. So I don't know about you, but I feel like it doesn't seem like I don't know. I think they might be able to do it. We'll see what happens.
Well, and I would add to that as well, Matt. Clearly, the speed is in that organization. When you see what Chase Briscoe is doing, getting these polls week in and week out, maybe they just need to, put together some stronger finishes because it's not a lack of speed within that organization. It seems, especially with Denny Hamlin as well.
No, no question about that. I think with how much speed those cars have, as long as you execute, and qualifying is so huge with this next gen car and track position, obviously. It gets talked about every week. So as long as they can qualify well and execute throughout the races, they're gonna be just fine in these playoffs.
Meanwhile, let's continue on. Shane Van Gisbergen, sixth place. He's 16 above the cutoff with 22 playoff points. He's got the 4 wins all on road courses. There's only one road course race in this playoff. That's the Roval, and have to imagine he'll be the favorite there. Shane Van Gisbergen, Matt, he's been running better on the ovals as of late. And with that race there, if he can just stay out of trouble and stay in the lead lap and potentially get that win of the Roval, nobody's expecting him to be in that Final Four and compete for a championship. But I don't think it's just this foregone conclusion that he's going to be out by the first round, like some people think as well. He could very well get to the round of 8 here.
I actually have a pretty strong opinion on this. He's out. There's no
Really?
way. He's out. There's no way he makes it through. His win count matches his top 5 count. So he has 5 top 5s and or 4 top 5s and 4 wins. And he's only got one other top 10 on top of those. So I don't know. If you ask me, I don't think he's got a fighting chance to make it through unless some really crazy stuff happens. And it has in the past. But I'd be very surprised to see him make it through.
Maybe they luck on a fuel mileage strategy of sorts, in these playoffs potentially. I mean, it's going to take a lot, but I'm not going to say it's impossible for him to move on. But I like the hot take there, Matt.
Well, and for sure, don't take it as me rooting against the guy.
No,
I'm a big fan of him, and honestly think he's got to be one of the best to have ever graced our sport, right? But he's not there on the ovals yet, and I don't think he's going to make it through the first round.
all right. Chase Elliott, 7 points above the cutoff, 13 playoff points. Chase Elliott, he's run up front, but that team has struggled to get in victory lane, and you can't really win a championship if you can't get into victory lane. I know that he's won in this format before, but I mean, something about this next gen car has not been the right fit for Chase Elliott. He can lead laps, but he can't finish races.
He's been really fast, and they've shown a ton of speed. Honestly, I feel like this year has been the fastest they've ever been, and obviously was in contention for the regular season championship. So they're very consistent still. Um, but yeah, they got to start winning. It's what this format's about. You got to start winning if you want to win a championship.
Also in the point standings, let's go to Chase Briscoe, who's got 10 playoff points. He's four above the cutoff. And Chase Briscoe, it's been the best season of his career. He's had a lot of poles. He's gotten victory lane. They've run very well here. I don't think Chase Briscoe's going to get in that Final Four, Matt, but I would say that I wouldn't rule out Chase Briscoe finding ways to maybe get into victory lane once or twice potentially in these playoffs. And Darlington this weekend is a track that he won a season ago.
Yeah, no doubt. And honestly, that team has been I almost feel like they've been the best Gibbs team. It's hard to say that because all the Gibbs teams are really, really good, especially with the 11 and the 20 right now. I guess I shouldn't say that. I know Ty Gibbs, 54 team has been struggling a bit, but they're getting better. Um, Either way, I feel like Chase Briscoe and that 19 team are actually, I don't know, my opinion, I think they're the best Gibbs team. So I think he's going to go the furthest of anybody.
Watch out. We'll see what Chase Briscoe does. Bubba Wallace in the ninth spot. He's 2 points above with 8 playoff points. Bubba Wallace had a very good season. He, of course, won at the Brickyard. We know that he's really solid at the plate tracks, and he's done pretty good at the mile and a halfs, and he's won at Kansas in the past. What do you think of Bubba Wallace's chances here, Matt, in this postseason?
I think they're the best they've ever been. He is, I feel like, the best he's been in his career so far. Obviously, getting that win in the Brickyard 400 is a huge deal, for playoff points, but just I feel like for his confidence rolling into these playoffs, I think, I don't know everything going on behind the scenes if that's going to affect them negatively, but if they can put that aside, I think he's going to have his best playoff run yet.
Then in the 10th spot, Austin Cindric, two above the cutoff. He's got 8 total playoff points. Solid year for Austin Cindric, but they haven't really shown the consistency, I think, to think that they're going to be a championship caliber team, man.
No, definitely not. I totally agree with you. Again, his top five count doubles his win count. So he's only got one win. He's got two top fives on the season. I'm gonna have to go out on a limb and say that's not gonna be good enough for the first round even.
Then you got Ross Chastain in the 11th spot. He's got 7 total playoff points. He's one above the cutoff at the moment. Ross Chastain coming to some tracks that he's done pretty well at. Trackhouse has had some speed this year, and of course, he got the win in the Coca-Cola 600, but really kind of a lack of consistency that we've seen from Ross. I feel like he can turn it on at any time, but really just hasn't shown that this year.
Definitely not. Solid top 10 team for sure. They're not bad. They're not horrible, but they're not really great. You know what I mean? They're kind of there, but they're not there. So they're just kind of waiting in the wings for something to happen, to be honest with you. And I don't know. I don't know how far that'll take you. I don't know what you think, but I don't know how far that'll take you.
Yeah, we'll see what the watermelon man can do. I know the hell melon is not legal now, but we
Took
know
away
that
his
he'll
moves.
try anything and everything to move on in each of these rounds as much as possible. Joe Logano is the last driver in the top 12 right now that would advance based on the current seeding with 1 point above 7 total playoff points. Joey Logano looking to defend this championship. We talk about drivers turning on the right time. He has been kind of a merchant of sorts in this playoff format. It hasn't been the year that Joey has expected by any stretch of the imagination, but he's got some solid tracks that he knows well. Ford has speed here. And last year for them, Matt, it was literally just kind of survival in the early rounds. And then they came, of course, the penalty helped them get back in. And then he, had some huge clutch moments at the end, ended up pulling the title here. I think if Joey Logano's got any shot, I really doubt it's going to be a dominating playoff for him. I think he's going to have some luck along the way, kind of similar to what he did last year.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a little more luck than normal. It just seems to me, Ryan Blaney's really that only Penske car who's at that top level. I feel like Logano really just hasn't been there either, but Again, pretty similar to Ross this season. I feel like they're kind of in the same boat.
13th spot, Josh Berry on the outside looking in. He's 1 point back with 6 playoff points. Very good year for Josh getting into victory lane for the first time. But I think, no disrespect to Josh, this has been an awesome season for him, and he's got a lot to be excited about. But I don't think anybody's expecting Josh to make any noise in this postseason. Maybe he could have a good run at Martinsville potentially. But I would be surprised if we hear much from Josh Berry. What say you, man?
Yeah, I would agree. I feel like he's kind of had, if you look at the stats, he pretty much looks identical to Austin Cindric. So I think that bodes well for him and what he's been able to do this year in that 21 Wood Brothers Ford. But yeah, I don't know how far it's going to take him through the playoffs.
And then in the 14th spot, Tyler Reddick is 1 point back. He's got 6 playoff points. Tyler Reddick yet to get into victory lane in 2025. But Tyler Reddick is a guy, Matt, that's capable of turning it on any given week. If we were talking about somebody that hasn't won or hasn't won much this year that could go on a run and rattle off some wins here, I think the 45 team would be one to keep an eye on potentially.
Yeah, no question. If you look at their stats, I feel like they're a lot better than at least four or five of the guys who have won, which is really interesting. I feel like that's happened quite a few times over the last couple of years, but definitely feel like he's got what it takes. And honestly, he could show up at Darlington and he's great there. So I wouldn't doubt if he goes out and gets his first win in the first round of the playoffs and locks him into round two.
Austin Dillon in 15th, 2 points back, 5 playoff points. For them, it's kind of what we've talked about the last few years where found a way to sneak in, got to win late, but they're kind of just happy to be there at this point, I would think.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I talk about wins and top fives being doubled. Well, his only top five of the season is that win at Richmond. So, if Richmond was the championship race and in every single round, I might say that he has a chance to advance. But yeah, looking like a pretty tough road to hoe here.
And then last in the playoff is Alex Bowman, 5 points back with 2 playoff points. I'm looking at this team, Matt. They've shown speed. They've shown the ability to run up front, but they've been so inconsistent. We talked about just the crash he had at Daytona. It feels like with Alex Bowman, things are either going really good and he's competing for top tens, or something wrong is happening here. And I just don't know what version we're going to get out of this 48 team.
Yeah, and you never really know throughout these playoffs. I feel like he gets stronger these last couple of years, and obviously last year was going to make it all the way to the round of eight, and I think had a very realistic chance of going on even further. But obviously that penalty kind of took him out. So I think between the stress of just barely getting in, and then kind of maybe a little bit of that fire from last year, knowing they kind of got knocked out right at the last second there, I think it'll carry him forward.
All right, so let's talk about Darlington now, the Southern 500. Matt, this is one of the crown jewel events of the NASCAR season. Give me your thoughts. What comes to mind to you when you think Southern 500?
Man, it's and one of the most legendary races on the schedule. I mean, I don't know how you can't think of just Darlington in general, really. Ricky Craven, Kurt Busch, that incredible finish there, and then throughout the years, just so many legendary moments at that racetrack. And I don't know if there's been a bad next gen race there, to be honest with you. That place has found a way to just put on good races, no matter what kind of car they're running. So, one of my favorite races of the year, personally. Yeah, curious to hear your thoughts on it, though.
I love Darlington. And, I go back to what I think of when we go to Darlington, Matt, is in 2020 when, the world shut down and we just did not know where we were, if we were going to be able to race and where could we race. And Darlington opened their doors and said, we don't care that we can't have fans here and all that. NASCAR, you come here and we're going to do 2 races. And they made it happen and did a phenomenal job. And then NASCAR came back later in the year for the Southern 500. And as a result, NASCAR has given Darlington 2 races on the schedule again ever since. And the attendance has been fantastic. The racing's been very good. When we talk about, kind of how COVID affected the sport and all this, I think Darlington took full advantage. They opened up their doors and they've been rewarded for it ever since.
for sure. And it's an amazing facility, and I'm just happy it's hopefully sticking around for quite a while. I know a lot of tracks have been under the gun for, if attendance numbers are going down or racing isn't as exciting as previous years. So it's good to see some good positive momentum for that place, and just continues to be year after year.
Yeah, and this race, Southern 500, Labor Day weekend, first race of the playoff. Um, we talk about traditions and such. I mean, this one, we're talking going way back here, Matt. I mean, the Southern 500, Labor Day weekend. There's a lot of good feelings about this. I mean, this one brings back a lot of memories for folks over the years of when you talk about the heart of the sport and all.
Oh, it does too. Just hearing the stories and the quotes, like Kyle Petty saying they ought to fill the place up and do host bass fishing tournaments, and just the whole reason that the track is even shaped the way it is because they, you know, went around a fishing pond over there in 3 and 4. So it's just pretty cool. And it's hosted a lot of races there throughout the years.
Yeah, it's been very cool to say the least, and we're looking forward to it. We'll give our picks coming up later, but who are some guys potentially to keep an eye on, in your opinion, this weekend at Darlington, Matt?
Well, I feel like William Byron has been probably one of the strongest at Darlington over the last couple of years. So it's hard not to say William Byron. Denny Hamlin as well. Denny's been really good at Darlington and always has been. It's one of his better tracks. So I'd say those are probably my top two. Larson's another close one that seems like he's been close. And then Briscoe, obviously, with the win last year, hard not to put him high on the list as well.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. It should be a lot of fun to see how it all plays out. We'll give our picks as well as our championship picks here coming up in just a moment. But let's go ahead and shift gears down, get to our headlines in the sport as we have plenty to discuss on the charter front. The latest on the 2311 and Front Row Motorsports antitrust lawsuit over the charters with NASCAR. And according to new reports, the sanctioning body filed a legal notice on Monday notifying the court and the two teams it plans to issue a charter to a redacted entity should a district court judge not issue a ruling to prevent the agreement. Here's more from motorsport.com, by the way, folks. Legally speaking, 2311 and Front Row gave up the charters they've held the past several years when they failed to reach an agreement with NASCAR on the charter agreement extension. They won an injunction decision in December that forced NASCAR to recognize 2311 and Front Row as having de facto charter status this season, but an appeals court in April overruled that outcome. Thus, NASCAR began entertaining conversations with teams from other motorsport disciplines and private equity groups to obtain those charters. The district court judge then ruled that NASCAR couldn't move those charters until a decision has been rendered on that matter, with a hearing scheduled for Thursday in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I'll say this, and I know there's only so much Matt can say, but Matt, I think that we can we can all agree on this. This isn't, I think, shocking news because if, let's say, that NASCAR does win this and whatever it may be, they're not just going to hold on to the charters for themselves. The whole idea of them getting these charters is for them to be sold to somebody else here. And, you know, in their mindset, it's been a whole season that they did not get to sell them, that they've had to wait on something that they believe is theirs. Whether you think this is right or wrong is a whole nother topic, but just on the surface level of, yeah, NASCAR's talking to teams that are interested in buying that charter. Of course they are. Like they're not looking to take these to hold them on for themselves.
Yeah, no question. I mean, it's it's being run as a business, right? That's what the sport is. And when they went up against NASCAR there with that not being able to sign the agreement, and again, what's right and wrong about the whole scenario is a whole nother topic. But they went up against NASCAR and kind of try to stick it to the man here, and they're gonna have to lay in their bed whatever happens.
Yeah. Yeah, and there have been some reports that it would be a very fan friendly, kind of fan excited team that would be buying one of these charters. The report is that it's uh, one of the charters that was already there, not one of the newly purchased ones that 2311 Front Row got from Stewart Haas Racing, that it would be one of the previous two. And this is just pure speculation, I will admit, Matt. But if it's if it is a going to be a well liked or you know you know fan friendly one, the first one that comes to mind for me that fans would get excited about that has shown interest in buying a charter before is if somehow it's involving junior motorsports. Not reporting anything. I don't have any sources on that, but like just pure speculation. I think that is one, especially if you're NASCAR and you're trying to win the PR side of this. You talk about flipping the script here. If they could potentially bring junior motorsports in, then the fans that are upset, whatever it may be, might totally change the conversation entirely if that is the team potentially here.
Yeah, I don't honestly, I'm thinking about it, and I don't know who else it could be. Maybe Legacy. I know Legacy Motor Club's trying to buy a charter right now, but I don't necessarily see them as one of the fan favorites, maybe. But who knows?
Yeah, it's a mess to see how it all plays out. And then another scenario that we're looking at here, Matt, is that you have this December court date coming up, and NASCAR could have a pending deal in place, like what's being reported here, with somebody, and then the courts could rule, or there could be a settlement in favor of 2311 in Front Row, and that team that thought they were buying a charter from NASCAR has the leg pulled out underneath them. But I think, though, that that team, whoever it is, isn't necessarily going to be caught off guard by this because they know, just like you and I, exactly what's going on here. It's one of those deals where they are putting this potential investment in, but they very well know that this could all fall apart too.
Oh yeah, it didn't. And you said it best there. It is just an absolute mess. It really is. There's so many moving parts and just so many um just I mean, it feels like a lot of loose ends or just I don't know. I don't know how it's all going to play out, but it's going to be interesting to see. I'm just glad I'm not one of the executives on any of the teams having to deal with all this because it's seems like a massive headache.
It does. It does. Other news for y'all, the much more lighthearted notes. Matt Kemp, are you much of a video game guy? You excited about NASCAR 25 coming out here?
I am. I'm stoked about NASCAR 25. I've been um a sim racer for a very long time. Actually, Dominic and I kind of started our relationship a little bit on NASCAR racing 2003, way back in the day, racing super speedway leagues and drafting together. So I'm super excited about NASCAR 25 and always been a big racer on iRacing and all those other different sims throughout the years. So
So
excited about this game for sure.
So we now know the cover. It has been released. The cover athletes, you got three guys on there: William Byron, Christopher Bell, and Ryan Blaney bracing the cover. Byron's at the center of it. Blaney and Bell are off to the side with their cars up there. It's a pretty cool looking cover here. And uh, you look at these three, like um, I know that probably the most talked about driver in the sport right now is Kyle Larson, but with his history in iRacing, there was no way he was going to be on the cover here. I think that they tried to figure out what they could to go with the younger drivers that stand out with these three here.
Well, I even before that, I think William Byron was the obvious choice for them because he's kind of uh their star, if you will. I feel like he's the one who grew up racing on a computer, according to I guess the media as long as he's been coming up. So I feel like he was the obvious choice there, but pretty neat that the other two got involved, and it seems like they just kind of spread the love on the manufacturer support there.
So tell me this, Matt. You mentioned being an iRacing guy and everything in the simulator. this is a console game here. Do you think this is what I'm wondering? Is this being a console game going to get people that do the sim racing to come over and play the console game? Or they're going to be like, why would I play a console game when I can actually do the sim and all this? Like, what do you, it's been so long since we've had a console game. It's been a couple of years. And, I loved playing the EA Sports game back in the day. Do you think that some people are too far into iRacing to do this, or do you think there's still going to be enough interest from even those type of people?
There's definitely going to be a lot of short-term interest, and I don't know. It seems from iRacing's perspective and a business perspective, they're probably okay with that because everybody still buy the game. But yeah, long term, I suspect that iRacing will kind of continue to be what it is. But I think there's a whole nother market there probably for the console games, and I think it's important that as a sport we're breaking into that market. So it's exciting either way.
Well, and you talk about that market. That's going to be available on PS5, Xbox X and S. PC is going to follow. Um, like, to I think that market is more so the younger crowd or people that maybe just don't have access to iRacing. And with iRacing being involved in this, Matt, I would think that the long-term goal is like, hey, let's give them a taste of this and let's draw them in long, what it might not be a year from now, it might be long-term plans when the kids get older or something, but let's get them to iRacing down the line. Just give them a taste of this.
Yeah, it's well, yeah, it's going to cost a lot less to do it, and I think that's going to open it up to a lot more people. So, um, it kind of like anything in racing. Racing's a lot like getting into drugs. You get a taste and you can't get enough of it. So, I think I imagine that it'll probably end up working out that way for them.
Yeah, I think so. Let's move on now. We'll get to our odds and look ahead to this weekend's race there at Darlington this weekend. And first off, just looking at Darlington, we've seen some incredible racing, and this being the first playoff race. I want to ask this before we get into the odds, Matt. Feel free to elaborate this as much as you want. Now that the 16 drivers are set, and these guys aren't racing to get in the playoff, now they're racing for a championship. And then you got everybody else that's outside the playoff. Does the way these guys race, whether it's championship contenders or the guys outside the field, does that change at all going into this weekend? Just the way these guys approach this race compared to what we saw the last few weeks of the regular season, man.
I don't think for the first race in this round or really probably any round, it's going to affect too much. But once you get to the second and third race, there's going to be a lot of factors that play into the way they play the strategy. So I definitely think as we get closer to the cut races, it absolutely will affect the way they race. But I think this weekend's just going to be like any other race, kind of straight up. And obviously they're going to be trying to win. I don't think they're going to be trying to win any harder to win this weekend than they have been any other weekend this year. So for the most part, I think it'll be pretty much the same.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And let's kind of start with the championship odds, and then I'll go into the individual race itself real quick. The favorites to win the championship right now, as it stands, according to BetMGM, Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin are co-favorites at plus 400. Matt, does that surprise you that they're co-favorites at plus 400 there?
And you said that's for the championship?
That's for the championship.
Okay. I'm not surprised. Denny's, tied for the most wins on the season, but he's tied with Shane Van Gisbergen. So really the way I look at it in terms of oval racers, he's got the most wins and probably has some of the most promise. So I'm not surprised by him. And Larson again tied for playoff points here up top right now to start the playoffs. Strong, run throughout the regular season. I'm not surprised by him either. I'm actually a little more surprised that William Byron wouldn't be. I'd imagine he's probably third.
So here it is, and I actually missed one name on that list. Ryan Blaney also at plus 400 as well. So you got
Okay,
three co-favorites there. And then
that's interesting.
Christopher Bell is plus 475, and William Byron is plus 650. So he's fifth on that list. So just the odds itself kind of say that there's there's that this is kind of anybody's ball game, that there's a number of guys that could do this. There's not a clear cut favorite that stands out, it seems.
Oh, absolutely not. I don't know about if you've gone through and made your playoff grid yet, but
I have not.
yeah, I went through today and I was like, damn, this is hard. Because I can see a lot of guys being there and having a shot at it.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. That it's kind of a great unknown at this point of what that exactly is going to be as far as that goes. And looking ahead to this weekend, your favorite is Denny Hamlin. He is the odds-on favorite, and his odds sitting at about four to one, 5 to 1, depending on the sports book that you look at. Uh, Denny's run so well here, and has done a really good job. I think it's going to be, we know about his history in the playoffs and all this, Matt, and you're still looking for that championship. I think it's crucial for Denny to kind of start this playoffs on the right note here.
Especially with everything going on off the track too. So I think he could definitely use a big confidence booster and a big morale booster for his whole team right off the rip for sure. And I think even more important than him, if Tyler Reddick won, I think it would help him too.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And then of course, we had news come out on Tyler Reddick's front that he's put in a notice to 2311 that says, "Hey, this violates my contract to not be a chartered team." And so, is Tyler Reddick potentially auditioning for another team for the next few weeks, as far as that goes? Like, I feel like his resume kind of speaks for itself. He doesn't have anything to prove, but if you're Tyler Reddick, at the very least, you want to put your best foot forward here with just having an uncertain future at this point.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I think it's pretty convenient for the case that's going on right now. But at the same time, realistically, I guess I wouldn't blame him for doing that. I just don't know who might be one to pick him up.
Yeah. All right, Matt. Give me your pick. Who wins at Darlington this weekend?
Man, I told you there's a lot of close favorites there, but man, it's hard to go against William Byron with how good he's been lately. I think I'm gonna pick William Byron this weekend.
Okay, I'll go with the favorite. I'll go with Denny Hamlin this week to get it done, but I could very well see William Byron in victory lane as well. Don't sleep on Kyle Larson too. He almost won this race last year, but a late caution came out, and
Yep.
Chase Briscoe ultimately got the job done there. What about your championship pick? Who's going to be hoisting the title when it's all said and done?
I think it's Denny's year. I think he's gonna get there. I think he's gonna do it.
Wouldn't that be quite the story with everything that's gone on this year and finally
It
getting
would
his
be.
first championship? I mean, that would be something else.
Yeah, this the old man's gonna get him one, I think.
I would love to see it. I think Kyle Larson's going to figure it out, and I think Kyle Larson brings home his second title. You could argue that he's due. Um,
For sure.
he's the best driver in the world, in my opinion. I think that Kyle Larson finds a way to bring home that title, but should be a lot of fun to see how this all plays out in the next few weeks ahead. Let's get to our mailbag segment this week. We ask you to submit questions to us each and every week, and we answer whatever questions you guys have. And our first question in the mailbag this week comes from Cadence, and Cadence wants to know, Matt, what would you tell somebody that wants to get into racing?
Somebody who wants to get into racing, what would I tell him? Well, I think some of the best decisions I ever made were to just really go out and get out to my local short tracks and uh, try to be around it and learn the people around there, make some good friends, and um, work your tail off. Set a goal and focus on it, but make sure you cultivate your roots and start at the short tracks. I think that's the great place to be, and um, you spend a lot of time there. I think you'll end up getting somewhere.
What was kind of your path to get to the ARCA series, Matt?
Definitely not probably a traditional path for me. I knew from a pretty young age, I learned pretty quickly in racing that it takes a lot of money to do it. So once I first started racing, I figured out pretty quick that I was going to have to get good at marketing because we don't, I don't come from a family with a whole lot of funds behind us. So um, trying to get good at the marketing thing, make sponsorships and relationships work for making racing work, and kind of tying it all together, and ultimately that's uh, kind of the way to get there, I feel like.
Next question in the mailbag this week comes from Casey, and Casey wants to know, Matt, who were the drivers growing up that you admired, and who do you look up to now?
That's a good question. I was always a big Jimmy Johnson fan. I kind of mentioned that earlier, but I always thought Jimmy just carried himself very well, and obviously was just one of, if not the greatest of all time. So I felt like he was somebody that I looked up to and strived to kind of be. He reminded me a lot of my dad as well. So I thought that, you know, I feel like we're missing a lot of that, the older statesmen now in NASCAR. I feel like we could use a lot more of that. So I don't know if I necessarily look up necessarily to a whole lot of folks currently racing,
Is there
somewhat.
is there certain guys that as a fellow driver that you see their talent and you're like, man, I like the way that guy races or something?
Oh, certainly like Chris Buescher and Chase Briscoe. Chase Briscoe I think different reasons. He's very aggressive, and I like the way he carries himself off the track. But Chris Buescher on and off the track, I feel like is one of the most underrated drivers that there is in the series right now. So I guess I would say Chris Buescher is probably one of those guys for sure.
Yeah, and one of the things I love about Chris Buescher is that he's just dealt with adversity so well. Was not in a great situation at JTG, goes over to Roush, and it wasn't much better. And Brad Keselowski comes in, and Chris Buescher's future was in question. People wondered if he was worthy of that car. And then he goes out there and he outruns his boss, and he's won races. He's been in the playoff and all this. I mean, when his back has been against the wall, he's delivered. And even when he won the Xfinity Championship years ago, Matt, he was still kind of sold short. He's never been given the respect that I feel like he deserves.
No, for sure. And I think man, he just seems like he's on the short end of the stick these last couple of years with being finishing second in the closest finish in the history of the sport, and then missing the playoffs by again just one spot this year. It's just like one thing after the next piling on.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great point. I like Chris Buescher too. He's a great guy, and certainly wish him the best. When it comes to Jimmy Johnson, you mentioned of kind of the older guys and such. Everybody, of course, knows about Jimmy winning 7 titles and winning 5 in a row and all that. But you talk about the way you carry yourself. I know, Matt, that Jimmy was not polarizing. He wasn't controversial, and you know that may not have been great for the sport to not have a guy that was polarizing winning those titles. But he didn't necessarily do anything wrong either. Like he was so professional and so well liked and respected. To me, like, I look at that and like it's hard not to respect Jimmy Johnson, even if you got tired of him winning so much.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. And I don't know, I've always been a fan of dominance too. So even when I see somebody dominate nowadays, it just I don't know, makes me happy. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I like Jimmy. I grew up a Jeff Gordon fan, so I I was frustrated that Jimmy took Jeff's thunder, essentially, and beat him straight up. But nothing but respect for Jimmy Johnson. I think he's the greatest of all time, and that's not a diss on Richard Petty or Dale Earnhardt or Jeff Gordon, but to do what he did of those 7 titles, the way the format changed so many times, the cars changed, and still nothing stood in his way. And I think Chad Canals deserves a ton of credit. He's the greatest crew chief to ever do it. I mean, NASCAR tried everything they could. I felt like Matt that stopped that team in their run, but they never let it waver.
No, yeah, for sure. And I the way I feel about the greatest of all time discussion is I think there's a lot of different eras of the sport, and I think each era's kind of had their own greatest drivers. So I think Kyle Larson's kind of that for our era now, a little bit. Uh, but he's kind of different in the aspect that he's racing all kinds of things. So it's kind of
Right.
cool either way.
All right, Matt. We're just about to take off, but before we do, tell us kind of what you got going on the next couple days, man.
Man, it's been a while actually. I've had some busy weekends going racing all over the place, but fortunately this weekend I've kind of got an off weekend first time in a while, and we're gonna take full advantage of it. Not sure, got to get a lot done around the house to be honest with you. When you're traveling a lot, it's hard to keep up with some of this stuff day to day. So we'll take care of some of our stuff at home and figure that out. How about you?
I'm off to New York for Labor Day weekend. Just taking a
Right
little
on.
vacation and just going to enjoy myself. Haven't been in New York in a long time since pre-COVID, so that's what I'll be doing. And seeing some friends and having a good time. Nothing on the agenda, just a little break, get away for a bit, but should be a great time. So
Just to the state or the actual city over there?
going to the city, yeah,
Oh man. Oh
and
man.
spend some time in the Hamptons too, and do all that. So yeah, it'll
Nice.
be good. So.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So, but I'll certainly be keeping tabs on the race and everything going on as well. So, should be a fun weekend. Matt, thanks for doing this. One show down, it flew just like that, man. And we got plenty more ahead to talk about next week when we do it all again.
Yeah, man. Sounds good. Appreciate you guys.
That is Matt Kemp, and we will put the checkered flag out on this edition of Let's Go Racing. New episodes out each and every week. Subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. Check us out there and hit us up on social media and all platforms. Also, this show, part of the Studio Soapbox Network. Check out my show, The Jones Report, as well as the Coach Bo Knows podcast and all podcast platforms. For Matt Kemp and Dominic Aragon, I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks so long. It's been another edition of Let's Go Racing. We'll see you next week.